notes. If you know it's recorded, then you have to worry less about the notes because you can go back over it, do that afterwards, and be more engaged in the moment.
I think so. And I've got probably a couple of thousand videos on YouTube, and I would say that at least 90% of them are unlisted. And they have like three views, right? Or they have, five views.
Yeah,
So I mean,
yeah, but that's
if you wanted to share this or any part of this with somebody, you're free to do that. It's just that I won't share it.
yeah. Oh, I appreciate that, and I've seen your YouTube channel when I was first talking to you and
Yeah.
going to reach out to you about this. I went through it and watched quite a few of your videos actually.
Well, I just did one just before we got on here. It's a 9.5 minute video because I think in the new year I might do a course called Growth Formula, and it's just because a lot of people, I've coached over 2,600 people in the States and Canada, a few overseas, Australia, China, the UK, Sweden, but mostly the States and Canada. And quite a few of them are reaching out to me now because I don't have to tell you that in certain parts of Canada and certain parts of the United States too, real estate values and business values have dropped. Not if you're in the AI industry. I mean, they've got ridiculous valuations. I get that. But a lot of real estate has dropped. Some of it's dropped by half, you know, and
Jesus.
and oh yeah. And one of my properties was appraised earlier this year at 1.6 million. I got the most recent appraisal, $700,000. Now, it doesn't matter, like Warren Buffett would tell you if he was on this call, it doesn't matter unless you're selling it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but still, that's quite the drop,
yeah.
And she just said it's because of the particular class of space it is, and the demand has kind of dried up. And real estate does go down in value sometimes, um, everywhere, I suppose. But I don't think I've ever seen Ottawa values drop by 50%. I've seen them drop by 10 or 15%, and I'm a lot older than you. So this is a little bit new to me. But, again, unless you're selling it, it doesn't really matter. Um,
Yeah, that's my argument when I get my tax bill as I watch the value of the property go up and up and up, is that
yeah,
value of the property, it may have value for me to loan against, which I have utilized that. But the property is worth zero until I sell it. And that's something I grew up. My father's the same age as you, and I grew up with being told that repeatedly. And
yeah,
also, like what you just said about it, he would often say, he's like, yeah, property goes through these bubbles and bursts and stuff like that. He says, but we generally, presumably because of the government force here, we don't see those bubbles in residential in Ottawa the same as they do in other places because there's people are always employed.
yeah. Well, although, the recent budget said that they would lay off between 30 and 40,000 civil servants, many of them here in Ottawa. And
Yeah,
that has already begun. So the initial 10,000 have been let go basically by early retirement. So that doesn't affect the Ottawa economy too much, but the next
yeah,
30,000 really could impact us.
absolutely.
All right, so just a few things you can see on my screen. I think you can see on my screen that I went through
Yeah,
this, and I just highlighted in yellow a few things that I think were really important. And I think the fact that you have experience, raising chickens and beef cows, raising animals, is really important for, I didn't really understand until, I mean, I've been through all your stuff, and there's a lot of stuff to go through. I'm not complaining.
yeah.
But I think the fact that you have experience in as a child, really, I think, is very, very important. The other thing I noted here is you've done some handyman work, and I'll comment on that, I think, a little bit later. But I think that was very interesting to me. And then this business, Wildside, um, do you produce any alcoholic cider, or is it all non-alcoholic?
It's primarily alcoholic, but we do also do some non-alcoholic. But it's the cider production is based around alcoholic. Yeah, I could have mentioned that in there, and quite simply because most of the effort is done in growing, maintaining the trees, harvesting, pressing, and then all you got to do is ferment it.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know if
know
you've
that.
ever made wine. Most people haven't made cider, but if you've ever made
Yeah, I know what
wine,
it
it's
is.
the
Yeah.
same process.
Yeah, I understand that. So, just speaking for myself personally, I don't want to say I'm a teetotaler. I mean, I have been out at the farm, and you and I shared a beer. So, I might drink, I don't know, 3 or 4 beers a year. And
Hmm.
my wife and I, we got married on Christmas Eve. It'll be 41 years this Christmas Eve. So we might have a glass of wine, Christmas Eve. But non-alcoholic drinks are very popular too. So I think that's something, you might want to, think about as well.
So we offer cider. Cider's a tricky one just because of how long it lasts. What we do, we call so wild cider is our alcoholic side.
Yeah.
We also have what we call fireside and sweet side.
Oh, nice.
The sweet side is just apples. They're not fermented. They're non-alcoholic. The sweet side. Um, so it's pure cider. It's the apples are pressed out of the trees. We take it the same day we press it. It gets put in the freezer so it can
Yeah.
last a
Beautiful.
good year, and
Yeah.
then we pull that out, and that is very popular here during the skating trails.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite outsell hot chocolate, but we sell a lot of it. To the point last year, I was almost pulling up um, to not sell any more of it because we also require it to mix we use the fresh juice to back sweeten the alcoholic stuff. And basically I bumped the price of it up so that I was okay with selling a little bit less of it.
That's smart.
And so
Smart.
we made more this summer. Hopefully we have enough. Fireside is an alcoholic cider. Um, it's and it's a apple pie and cinnamon spiced cider that's served hot, which is where the fireside name came from. That was a buddy of mine I play hockey with came up with that name.
I love it. I mean, it goes with the Firestone, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, we'll definitely get you some of the sweet side. That'll be the stuff you like, the non-alcoholic.
I think
And
so. It's like I said, I don't have anything against people who want to smoke some weed or drink some wine or beer,
yeah,
whatever. Just it's I'm not a life coach, so I can't really give you life coaching. But just as a general rule, alcohol and business are really not a good base a mix. If you look at there was a show on TV. It was very popular about these guys. I've forgotten the name of the show, but it went on for a long time about these guys on Madison Avenue who were in the PR business, right? And they were drinking all the time. At 10 o'clock in the morning they were having something to drink. At
yeah,
lunchtime they were having something to
uh,
drink.
yeah.
But
With John Hamm, I can't.
that's
I
right.
watched the series. Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched the series. I liked it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little over the top.
Well, I'm just saying that for example, the coaching that I do, the writing I do, the research I do, it would not be the same if I was, a heavy drinker. It just for me, it just wouldn't work. And so you just have to be a little bit careful with alcohol, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
A little bit,
And that's
great.
yeah.
Okay,
That's something I'm aware of, and I've gone through my stages in life where it's
right.
worse than others. But I'm not going to pretend that I don't like to have a drink, and
Yeah,
it's. But I do notice, if it becomes too habitual, and I have my older brother lost his job, lost his house, ended up moving back home in his 30s, all substance abuse. He's been through it with he
yeah,
went through it with cocaine, and then he went through it
yeah,
with alcohol, and
yeah.
the alcohol was the worst of the two, and he's now been hasn't had a drink in I think it's 4 or 5 years.
Good for him.
So
You should be proud of him.
yeah, it's I've seen it happen, and I've felt it. I'm kind of prone to it myself, so I watch that. But I'm also very well aware. I wouldn't disagree with a single syllable of what you just said about it not mixing. It doesn't help us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, alcohol's an ancient potion. I mean, as I said, if you're really stressed out and you don't really have anything that you have to do the next day, so maybe if there's nothing crucial on your agenda the next day, which for business people like us there aren't many days where you can point to that. But if there's really nothing that you have to do the next day, then you can have a bunch of drinks, and then the next day if you feel a little less than 100%, who cares? But
Exactly.
you have to be careful. Then
Yeah.
I was sorry to hear about the marriage falling apart again. I understand that divorce is in some circumstances or in some ways, divorce can be more difficult than the death of a partner. The death of a partner, I mean, she's passed away or you passed away. I mean, that there's nothing you could do. I mean, other than mourn. But divorce can be extremely difficult. And then when I read what happened with your ex, I would imagine you're probably not on particularly good terms with her.
It was actually very amicable. She was very reasonable with her request. Didn't ask for anything that she wasn't owed. So there was some cost to me. But overall, we're not on speaking to terms just because we're not. We're like there was no real big bad beef. The only thing on a personal level that she did is we had two dogs, and she kind of stole one of the dogs where
I
I
think
would,
you, I
my
think you,
dogs are my babies, and
yeah,
that didn't go down very well. But other than that, it was as far as separations go, it was about as amicable as they get. And she could have gone after me for a whole lot more. This is the marital home.
yeah,
And it was coming close. And I don't, when I said there that she had sent the paperwork saying I had to sell,
yeah.
that was I had basically I pushed her patience to the end of the limit because I was exhausting one option after the next. I think I went to about 13 or 14 different financing options till I finally got one. Even my lawyer said, he says, I've never seen anybody go through this much to try and save their property. He says, I've never seen anyone go past two or three. He says, you just don't give up. And
Well,
I said, well, no, I just wasn't taking no for an answer. And I ended up getting, being able to finance the place on my own.
yeah, it's amazing what you did. And, I'm sure you've heard the expression, Trevor, but if you haven't, you should write it down or remember it. It's hard to beat somebody who will never give up.
Yeah.
And whether it's in business or in life, the probably the most important thing here is one, you didn't give up, so you can't be beaten. You cannot. Um, I mean, the Ukrainians have proven to be formidable in the defense of their homeland. And you can be sure that if the Russians do finally knock over Ukraine and they go after Poland, I know many of the people in Poland uh, will defend Poland against the Russian boot heel to the last man.
Yeah.
They will fight. So I think that's something to be proud of. In terms of the mental toll, though, the financial toll is one thing. You can deal with that, but the mental toll, um, I know you get plenty of exercise because you're on the farm all the time, but that's something you have to also be aware of. When I was in, my wife and I like to go to Merida in Mexico. Merida is the capital city of the Yucatan, which is the ancient home of the Mayan people. It's a beautiful city. And
Hmm.
there was a young woman, a young actress who was out of work, and she was in the square. I wonder if I have her story here somewhere. Maybe not. And she had a beautiful costume. She shows up and stands on a box as a mime, and in her angel costume, she's a beautiful young woman. So when she's out of work, she goes to the square Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and stands on this little box. And she's a mime, and she has a little jar. And if you put some pesos in her in in the donation box, you get to pick a little fortune. So I picked out a fortune. I put some pesos in, and I talked to her after her gig was over. So I learned a little bit more about her story. And the one I picked out said, "Sometimes you win," in Spanish, "sometimes you win and sometimes you learn." And I
Hmm.
turned to her and I said, "Wow, this is a really important fortune for me because I've done lots of winning, but I've also done lots of losing." And
Yeah.
so I said, "This is really important." And she's not allowed to speak while she's in costume, so she just mimes. And I said, "This is very important to me." She speaks Spanish, of course, but she also speaks English. And I said that's a wonderful thing to for me to have picked out of 1,000 different possible fortunes in her bowl. And so when you lose, don't think of it as a loss. Think of it as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that. I remember my very first year in the middle of the night. There was a couple of things that, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're on your own, it's freezing cold, and a piece of equipment gets stuck or breaks down. I remember collapsing on the ground on my knees and just, I looked up and it's nice moon and stars in the sky and said, well, you can always go back to construction work and work in a cubicle or whatever and do that. And I, picked myself back up and kept going. One thing that I will say though, after this many years and repeated struggles and the finances, although finances are finances,
Yeah,
it's still the stress toll. I have experienced depression, and
yeah,
I'd say, yeah, I don't give up, but it's pretty tricky sometimes when it's just constantly overwhelmed, and that's kind of this is a big part of what I need to get under control, to help work on that, and my health. And yeah, there's no problem getting fresh air out here,
yeah.
and I get the exercise and that, but I need to work a little bit better on my sleep and my eating and that, and keep my health good. But really, the mental health, and it's one thing to go through that for a year, but after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, five, like it takes its toll.
So what I wanted to say is a big part of my job, I think, working with you, which again I was really looking forward to, is to try and find ways to reduce financial stress. Um, for a business owner, a CEO, there are three primary jobs. Okay, one, never run out of money. Simple as that. Never run out of money. Whether you're borrowing some money to fund some operations or some expansion, or your cash flow is sufficient to fund your operations and then a little bit more. Reducing financial stress, I think, is a priority of the coaching that we're doing. To do that, I know you're a very strong-minded individual. I've gotten to know you a little bit, and I'm going to get to know you a lot better. But you might have to be more flexible in your go forward strategy than you want to be, because to continue what you've been doing, which has been successful. I mean, you've done a fantastic job. I told you my youngest son went to RiverOak and had a great time. Took a young woman with him. But the question is, to do the same thing over and over again, is the and expect a different result is the definition of insanity. So I would ask you to, at least as we work together, to consider, right, some alternatives that might reduce financial stress and produce less work and more cash, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's your number one job, is never run out of money. Number two is to get the business model right. And we're going to talk about that next after we finish with this. To get the business model right is extremely important for every business. Steve Jobs, in the last, I think, 4 or 5 years of his life, maybe even longer, maybe the last 8 or 9 years of his life, spent 50% of his time on Apple business models. When he he invented the iPhone, right? Which Samsung copied and Google copied and others have copied. Um, he understood that he was going to take the cell phone from a Motorola phone. If you remember what the Motorola phones were, they were
Yeah.
those phones, and
Yeah.
and with a flip phone, that Motorola phone, I had one. You could drop it from a two-story window. You could step on it by accident. You couldn't destroy it. But here are the economics that Motorola was looking at. They would sell a Motorola phone to AT&T or Bell Canada for $100, and AT&T or Motorola, sorry, AT&T or Verizon or Bell or Rogers would sell it to you or me for $200. So Motorola would make $100 from that phone, and then that phone would last 5, 6, 7 years, and then maybe I needed another one, and Motorola would make another $100. What Steve Jobs said is, I'm going to have a phone that has committed monthly recurring revenues, which is the holy grail of every business, technology, your business, my business, any business, committed monthly recurring revenues. So he imagined a phone with an app store, with obviously sponsorship and advertising opportunities. Back then it was iTunes, and now it's Apple Music. I mean, he had this whole idea in his mind of how to take a phone from something that you got $100 for once every 5, 6, 7 years to something you got, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $100 a month from. So if you sell 1.5 or 2 billion iPhones, and you figure it out, you're getting $50 a month for an iPhone. You can see why Motorola doesn't make phones anymore.
Absolutely. You put them out of business.
100%. They put our friends,
Motorola, Nokia,
yeah, they put our friends in Waterloo out of business too, right?
BlackBerry.
BlackBerry.
Yeah.
I
Well, that's what I had before iPhone.
Yeah. Well, I knew Jim Balsillie, and I asked him if he had, when the original iPhone came out, if he had seen one. He said, "Oh no, I don't have to look at one." And Jim was a very difficult individual to coach. I don't mind telling you that. He said, "Well, those touch screens are never going to catch on." And I said, "Well, I think you should, I had the original iPhone. I said, I think you ought to, you ought to get one and try it yourself." And oh no, I don't need to. I was coaching him because he wanted to get an NHL team, either a second NHL team for Toronto or an NHL team for Hamilton. And since I had founded an NHL team, he came to me for some coaching, and he decided, Trevor, that he was going to sue his way into the NHL. And because he thought it was a restraint of trade, and he was going to go after them for antitrust. And I said, Jim, Mr. Balsillie, if you owned a private golf course and Trevor Jamieson and I came along and said, we'd like to join your golf course, but for some reason you didn't like Jamieson, you didn't like Firestone. And we said, well, we're going to sue you to get in to your golf course. What would you think of us? Probably not very much, right? So, at least with Mr. Balsillie, after some really strong differences, we decided to part ways. So I sort of wasn't going to coach him to sue Gary Bettman and John Daly. Those guys are New York lawyers, and they are not afraid of litigation.
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay. So
Yeah.
so the next thing I think what we should look at is, and we should talk about, and probably the most important discussion we'll ever have, is what does River Oaks business model look like today, and what's it going to look like a year or two from now? Okay. And
Yeah.
and I'm going to explain what a business model is. It's very simple. I've been teaching this stuff since the early 90s, even before Steve Jobs got into it at Apple. And a business model, very simple. In the middle is your business, River Oak. And on one side are your suppliers, and on the other side are your customers. And your customers provide you with some money for some sort of services or products. The company offers some kind of services or products, and your suppliers, supply you with what you need in order to offer those services or products. Then there's another dimension. At the top, there's usually a brain, and the brain somehow matches your customers and your suppliers. All right. And I'll
Hmm.
explain that in a little bit more detail in a moment. And then there's one last dimension, or there's a few other things that you have to think about, and that is there's a kind of what I call an orthogonal dimension that sticks out the top, which is you have to have what I call a magic marketing button.
Hmm.
And a magic marketing button is like these.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess the batteries are out.
Yeah.
Was
I
easy.
have one of
Oh,
those.
oh wait.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was easy.
So what we need is this on Trevor's desk, and whenever he needs more clients or customers, he has to push that thing, and clients or customers show up.
Yeah.
So when some young people I coach come to me and say, "Look, if I get a Super Bowl ad, 30-second ad for $6 million US, I'll get some customers." Well, that's not very practical.
Yeah.
So that's important. And I'm going to show you a business model, if you don't mind, so you'll get a sense of what they look like. This was done by two engineers and has nothing to do with River Oak, but it's very interesting. So I'm going to share my screen with you again. Hang on a second, see if I can find it. I have it here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. It's kind of hazy on the screen, but I'll explain it to you what it is. But it's a very clever business model. These are two Waterloo engineers, and they created something in the middle here, which you see the initials here, LB, and that stands
It'll
for
be, yeah.
Luxbox. All right. And these are two young men who know nothing about the fashion industry, but they decided they were one of the first to create something called the Lux Box. And what that is it's a box that they would snail mail to their clients. So the clients are over here, and they're mostly women, 97% are women. And in that box would be, hair care products, makeup, skincare products. I mean, a million different things that a lot of women are interested in. So these women would subscribe to Luxbox and they would pay Luxbox $12 a month. It would be more today, but this is going back a few years. All right. So
Yeah.
here's your business. This could be River Oak, or in this case, it's Luxbox. Over here are a bunch of ladies, there are about 30,000 ladies who had signed up to get these Lux boxes once a month or once a quarter. And then on the other side over here, um, there were these suppliers like Moroccan Oil or CoverGirl or Estee Lauder, and even some department stores. And what was really interesting about this business model is these suppliers would actually pay Luxbox to put their samples in the box. So imagine if the people
Yeah.
who work for your staff paid you to work at River Oak. That'd be pretty cool. Not very good for them, but it'd be pretty cool for you. So now they're getting paid on two sides of the model. The customers are paying them for the Lux box, and the suppliers are giving them free product to put in. And so their cost on the supply side was effectively zero. In fact, they got cash as well because there
Yeah.
was a lot of competition to get into this box, and Estee Lauder would want to be in there instead of somebody else who's in competition with them. And then over here you have kind of the this is over here. This is their orthogonal dimension, which is their magic marketing button. And so what happened once Aditya Shah and his partner launched this thing, the two young engineers launched this thing, once they got to about 20,000 customers, and now they're at, I don't know, considerably more. But once they got to 20,000 customers, people like the Globe and Mail, People Magazine, Chatelaine came to them and said, hey, can we offer new signups for our magazines, a free Luxbox subscription for 6 months, and we'll pay you for them. So it
Hmm.
was incredible. They were getting paid by their suppliers, they were getting paid by their customers, and they were getting paid by their marketing partners to market Luxbox for them. And that's how they were.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, People Magazine said, "Look, we've got a lot of new subscribers." They were adding, 5 or 10,000 subscribers every quarter, right? And every one of those subscribers, again, mostly women, right? And then on when you do a business model, you look at on the supply side and on the customer side, you look at two dimensions. The second dimension is what do the clients of your clients want from your business? So, what do the clients of your clients want
Hmm.
from RiverOak? So, most of these women have partners, and most of those partners are male. And so I asked the two fellows, what do your clients of your clients, the second dimension over here, which I didn't show in this picture, want from Luxbox? Well, what they wanted was gift certificates to give their girlfriends or their wives, right? And so Loose Button, Luxbox, they introduced gift certificates and sold $250,000 their first year in 6 weeks because the men were looking for something to give their girlfriends, right?
Yeah.
And then you do the same thing over here on the supply side. And a company like Walmart is very good on the supply chain. Like Canadians are not very good on supply chain management, but Americans are very good at it. And they'll go on the supply side, they'll go 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, maybe 4, 5, 6 dimensions, so that, for example, people who supply Walmart basketballs will know that they need more basketballs in Tallahassee and more ice skates in Ottawa, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, so they're doing a lot of that. So I think that one of the things I wanted to do, with your permission, was I'm going to boot up a graphics package here in a second, and we're going to work on a River Oak business model.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Now, most of my clients, when they are working, to retool the business to some extent, like you are, they do the business model. And by the way, you're going to review your business model at least twice a year. Apple would, if Steve Jobs was alive, he'd probably do it 4 times a year, but he'd certainly do it at least twice a year. So a business model that works today may not work in a year. The economy is changing so quickly. Okay, so whatever
Yeah.
we do today, 6 months from now, you'll look at it again and say, oh, I can make some more changes to it. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not static. It's the engine of your business. And I read your business plan. Most people who are investors or lenders today, maybe not BDC Bank, but or some of the old traditional banks, but most certainly VCs I work with, most investors I work with, they're really not interested in reading a 40-page business plan. What they
Hmm.
want is they want to see a one-page business model like I just showed you, and
Hmm.
they want a pitch deck, a slide deck. So,
Yeah.
so what they're really investing in is you, the founder. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's a lender, an investor, a venture capital firm, whatever. Yes, some of the old mainstream banks will want a business plan that's 40 pages of bullshit, but most of the people I work with, they want a pitch deck. They want you to present it, because you can take a pitch deck and you can present that in 10 or 15 minutes, whereas a 40-page business plan will take hours to read, right?
Absolutely.
All right. All right. So let's try and see what we can come up with. And you'll have to help me on this one because I'll need help. All right. So I'm going to share my other screen with you. And you should be able to see it in a second. I'll make it a little bigger here. All right. Let's see what kind of color will make it. I don't know. What's the dominant color at River Oak?
Uh, our main color is kind of a royal blue.
All right, we'll make it blue. Why not? All
Yeah,
right. So
we play with that a lot. I brighten it up as far as stuff. That almost started as an equipment color, because it was the color we picked out of the trim clad options available.
whatever. RiverOak.ca. All right. So this is the beginning of our business model. Okay, I'm going to save it in your file too, just in case my computer decides to go. I'll have it somewhere here. Hang on a second. Oh, I was already there. And I'll send you this after we finish, okay?
Yeah.
So you'll have a copy of it too. RiverOak.ca business model. I got about 20 files open. You sent me so much stuff. So we're going to be here for about 10 hours.
Yeah. I know I sent you a lot of stuff and a lot
That's
of it
okay.
was last minute, so I didn't expect you to get through it all. And I was also trying to keep you sent a lot of emails too, and I was trying to keep up with all of them
You
and
did
read everything. I've still got
very
a
good.
little more homework to do there too.
Yeah, that's okay. You did really great. Okay, so RiverOak.ca. All right. So now down here, we're going to put down here. All right, well, down here. See if we can get it kind of straight.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. All right, so we're going to put what are the products and services. All right, so you're going to help me out here. So obviously, I think the number one product would be skating through the forest, right?
Yeah.
I better make that a little bigger. Oops, shit. All right, move this down a little bit. So be patient because this is really probably the most important thing that we'll do. All right, skating through the forest is number one. What would you say is your number two business today? The cider business?
Um, Currently, no. Uh, uh, Trying to think of an individual. Like I would say like this year well, yeah, this the cider, I guess. Sorry, I think about that as part of the, you get it. No, it would be the number two.
Is apple cider one word or two?
Two.
Okay, what's next after that?
Um, you'd be either it's like as far as revenues, you'd be either the this year it'd be the Christmas trees or the obstacle races.
Okay, keep going. You're on a roll.
Um, then we've got say concerts and stuff.
Okay. Where do
Um,
weddings, where do what I'm going to break out weddings separately. Where do they rank?
we haven't done one in over a year.
Okay, so it'll be
Um,
fairly far down that. Okay. So when you
yeah.
say
Um,
concert,
al Along the same lines as those would be private rentals, and we do a number of those. We do a lot of those during the winter, actually. So that would actually be fairly high up there. It's a decent, like it's sort of like if you saw in the business plan, like kind of how
yeah,
we've started to break this stuff down.
Yeah,
And this is kind of what you're talking about here is a rethinking of that and a simplified version of it. But during the winter, yes, it's our big time. So yes, it's based around the skating trail, but then we've also got the private rentals, we've
love
got
it.
the school groups that come in, we've got the food that we sell, the cider that we sell, all of that sort of stuff.
Do you sell much?
So
Do you sell much merchandise?
we don't. We just started doing that a little bit last year, and we'll push a little bit more this year.
Okay, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller font so we can squeeze more in. All right, so we got skating through the forest, apple cider operation and sales, private rentals and school groups, Christmas trees, obstacle races, merchandise, concerts, weddings. What else do we have?
That's a pretty good view of what's going on right now.
Okay,
There's more than that pushing towards, but that's I think you've got it pretty
okay,
well covered.
that's a good
Cut,
start. Do you
you
have
know,
maybe we should have put in here somewhere too, because I know you're trying to get that off the ground is summer camps and or is that in the future?
no, the summer camps we actually launched it this summer, and I unfortunately had to cancel it because of a lack of signups.
Yeah, okay, well we'll just put it down here right at the bottom then. Okay,
Yeah,
all right. I'm just gonna push that up a little bit. All right, I'll save it again. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. So that's River Oak. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some we'll put some orange pieces over here. Okay. Whatever these are. Okay, these are your customers, all right? So this is, I'll just put here, this is DD stands for the demand side, okay? This is your demand side of your business, okay? And so if I understand the business right now, the demand side would be, I think, families, correct?
yeah,
I don't know if I spelled that right. Shoot. I'm a fanatic for trying to get these things right. My typing is
yeah.
too.
It's tough with using paint because you can't go back into it once you've gone out.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can just go Control Z and it disappears.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay, so families, and then we have companies, right?
Yeah,
Corporations. Corporations, did I say it right? Corporations and organizations, right? And that's a lot of that's team building, right?
yeah.
Oops.
Team building or the number one type of business that comes here like that rents a place as a business
Yeah.
are real estate agents
Oh,
for their
oh, cool.
clients.
And they do it for what purpose? Just to thank them.
Yeah, as a thank you and a promotion. I mean, like you've been in the real estate agent
Yeah.
business. Uh, they're but by far they're the most. Like I've got a gentleman that's coming in on Saturday, and he's invited about 30 clients, and he's going to buy them all a Christmas tree and some cider and hot chocolate and stuff like that.
Beautiful.
So it's that one's not a private rental. He wants to do it while we're open, but I mean it's an extra 30 customers for us.
Beautiful.
So we're certainly happy with that. He's going to put my numbers through the roof this year, just on that alone. So that's very good.
Excellent.
And
Yeah.
then we've got another person that's been coming here for 2 or 3 years. Basically that same sort of thing, but in the wintertime she invites all of her past clients and offers them skating passes and then a free snack and a drink. So these sort of things are very very good for us, obviously.
Excellent. All right. So we've got families coming, we've got corporations, organizations, realtors, it's team building, customer thank yous, and it can be employee rewards as well, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. All right. So, what other kind of folks are coming to see you? I guess if you are looking at it, it could be schools.
Yeah, schools and hockey teams are a big one as well.
Beautiful. Oh, that's great. Love it. All
You know,
right.
and the families. I mean, we get, I'd say at least 50, maybe more like 60% of our clientele in the wintertime, that just to show up on a regular Friday, Saturday, Sunday, are going to be young families.
Yeah.
But you also get the couples in their 20s and 30s, and
Yeah.
you get folks like yourself bringing the grandkids out, and that. So family is a very broad age range. I mean, your average young family with kids in hockey would be the primary thing.
Yep.
I would say we're somewhere sitting around 60-70% of the people show up looking to play hockey, because that's something unique about our place.
I
But you
love
also
that, by
get
the way.
people, a nice romantic skate. We've had more engagements here than I can remember. And occasionally we get a heads up about it and somebody asking for a little bit of help. Other ones we just hear about it, that it just happened along the trails and stuff. So it's really a mix when it comes to that stuff.
All right. So I love that, by the way. Dating and engagements I've added. And I love the fact that you've got the hockey teams. And I saw that when I went through your website, you could play hockey there. And okay. So we've got schools and hockey teams, corporations, organizations, realtors, families, dating and engagements. So that might include weddings at some point. One of my daughters
Yeah,
got
I've had a couple of requests for winter weddings.
beautiful.
It would take some infrastructure work to make
Yeah,
that possible,
I get that. Um,
because they of course want to have it on a Saturday or Sunday, and I can't be shutting down to the public.
No, no, I get that. Well, the other thing too is that the wedding industry is fantastic. One of my daughters wanted to get married at Saunders Farm, right? They can accommodate 350 people there. Did you know that?
That's a good size
Oh,
a
it's
good
huge.
size wedding.
And, I mean, her husband is English, and he's got a lot of friends. So there you go. So I think another possible customer would be event planners, right?
Yeah,
Have you reached out to many event planners?
that's not something I've actively done. No.
Okay, because that occurred to me that might be a very important source of business for both summer and winter, right? I mean, depending on what you want to do with it. All right. So, are there any other obvious sort of on the demand side, are there any other obvious potential sources of clients?
Well, this is where it changes, because if I look at the list you put in blue here, at the bottom,
Yep.
it changes. It's a little bit of a different answer for each one. Mostly
Right.
what we focused on here, is the skating. If you get into the apple cider, that changes a little bit, especially when you get into alcohol. We did touch on private rentals and school groups. The Christmas trees, you're back to the families and
Exactly.
the couples and that sort of stuff. The obstacle races, that's individuals with. I should specify. We've switched to almost exclusively dog obstacle races.
Oh, how cool is
So
that?
you're talking about pet owners there. Merchandise, I'd say your clients are anybody who attends here.
Yeah.
Um, but more primarily, like, I had a guy a week before our sweaters came in last year. A guy was here with his daughter's entire hockey team up from the U.S., and he asked if we had anything, and I said no, we're getting it next week. And he says that's too bad. He says because every one of them would bring one home as a memory of their trip to Ottawa.
That's
They really
awesome.
really loved it here.
No,
Um, and then
keep going.
and then when you get into um, um, concerts. So far, the concert we've had, it's leaning a little bit towards the older crowd. I'd
Yeah.
say our average age for that is probably in maybe I'd say about 50 would be an average age. So you're not quite families there. It's more couples that want uh, going out for a bite and some music and
Yeah.
some drinks.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. Yeah. So I'll say 50 plus for concerts. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I
that's
mean,
good.
obviously, it's not just, but I'd say an average age you're
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
in that ballpark.
Oh, shoot.
And then the summer camps that's geared towards younger kids,
Yeah, I
like
get that.
elementary school age.
Yeah. That's great. Okay. Um, so I thought of another source of demand, and then we started talking about other things, and I forgot what it was. Shit. Uh, who else is interested in all this stuff here? It'll come to me later. Whatever. Okay. So that's the demand side. Let's move over now to give it a different color here. I don't know what color. I'll go green. And this is the supply side. Okay. Supply side includes staff, and this is a very important thing for you to recognize, is that your staff are suppliers to your business. Do you understand? Whether it's a
Yep,
bookkeeper or it's a beehive keeper or it's somebody who, is providing some sort of safety patrol in case somebody gets hurt while they're skating, your staff is really, if you treat them as suppliers, that's going to be an important mental change. They're not really employees. They can be, of course, but they're independent contractors, they're employees, but they are actually supplying a vital service to the business. So we treat them as suppliers, okay?
yep.
Yeah, we also have people who supply merchandise. Okay. And I'm going to also, which you've already, I think, figured out, um, sponsors are very important. I taught, the folks I coach at the Ottawa Senators, and of course, I was the chairman and governor of the Ottawa Senators at one time. We were doing 22 million to 25 million dollars a year in sponsorship revenue at the Canadian Tire Center in the first 3, 4, 5 years. At the Bell Sensplex, which I was involved with to build that one, we did over eight. No, I'm exaggerating. $660,000 in sponsorship revenue in the first year. The typical Ottawa arena does $10,000 a year. So sponsors, believe it or not, are both customers and suppliers, if you can kind of see what I'm getting at. Sponsors can supply you with, all kinds of, important stuff. For example, a sponsor could be, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but could be Calypso.
Hmm.
How do you spell Calypso?
Like
So.
a PSO. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. So you say, why the hell would they sponsor? Well, they sell season passes. You know why they sell season passes at Calypso? Because I coach them. They're based in Quebec City, and they have a water park in Quebec City, and they have a water park in Montreal. Then they came to Ottawa, to Limoges, and I
Hmm.
said, I did a little coaching with them. And I said, you guys should be selling season passes. Oh, we don't do that. Just show up, you pay your. No, I said, Ottawa is a place where you can sell season passes. And the first year they blew the doors off season passes.
Oh yeah.
So Calypso could say, hey, listen, we'll bundle a Calypso season pass, which you could sell in the wintertime with a RiverOak, and we'll bundle a RiverOak season pass with Calypso. And Calypso gets a lot of people. Do you know what
Absolutely.
their through rate is on a peak day in the summer?
No idea.
13,000 people a day.
Jesus.
Jesus. So,
Yeah.
so one of the things that I'm going to now show you, this is why business models are important, right? You discover these kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So I got to draw in red. Remember I told you there's this orthogonal dimension? This is your, magic marketing button, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you teach at a university as I did, you can't use terms like magic marketing button because it's not considered, I don't know, university level kind of verbiage, right?
Lingo. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a better way of putting it, lingo. So one of the things that sponsors can do for you is sponsors can be channels for you. If you understand, you could be a channel for them and they could be a channel for you. Okay.
Mhm.
And you probably know this. Calypso's 20 minutes away from you,
Yeah.
right? And they get 13,000 people a day. So what I'm going to put up here is we've got Calypso over here, and this is just an example, right? But part of your magic marketing button could be, all right, oh, shoot. Sorry, I'm getting too close to the top here. Hang on. So, uh, e.g., right? Calypso sells RiverOak. So Calypso sells RiverOak season passes during the summer, bundled. So if you understand what I'm doing here, Calypso becomes a marketing channel for you, and you become a marketing channel for them.
Yeah.
Now, you obviously know there's another very important group out there, which is also quite close, right? Which is
Melody plays.
no. Can you
Oh,
read
Hard
it?
Rock. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that where you were typing.
Yeah, that's okay. I apologize.
Absolutely.
There is an event coordinator at Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, right? So they're like 20 minutes away from River Oak. So that is a big, big, big change in the area, right? For Melody Place Farm, for River Oak, especially I think for River Oak. And I think it would be worthwhile, for you to visit with Calypso, visit with Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, and develop a good relationship there because one of the very important things for the Hard Rock Hotel is to give guests things to do other than just go to the casino, right?
Hmm.
All right. So I just got to point that out. All right. So
Yeah.
so I put them over here, all right, as a sponsor, but I'm going to put them over here in red, right, as a marketing channel. All right. So what other sort of things have you done on the marketing side that have worked?
Um, a lot of I've tried radio ads, and I'm unsure whether or not they were actually successful.
I doubt.
Um, Pardon?
I doubt it.
Yeah, I think they got a bit of attention. I know I had a number of people saying that, oh, we heard you on there, we heard about you on there, we heard about you on there. Sort of friends and family. I'm not sure how much actually, converted. The we do use Google AdWords or Google Ads and keywords. And our for the majority of our stuff, it's social media, and we get a particular amount of attention from Facebook.
Right, yeah,
And
smart.
I I think I'd answered some of that in your initial
Yeah,
the initial email questionnaire, and you see
yeah.
I shared with you some of the numbers there, and then I see you wrote down email list. The email list is something we've had for quite a while. I believe we're something 11 or 1200 subscribers on that, which is not monstrous, but not bad either. And we have pretty good opening rates for it for when we do send it out. It's something that is very much underutilized.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you that it's extremely email marketing still works. Um, and I got the senators into email marketing very early. Like we were right on it in '93. And if we want to fill up the last 500 seats and try and get us a sellout, email marketing is very, very effective, right? It's if you know what you're
Yeah.
doing, right? Okay. So we've got an email list, we've got Google keywords, we've got Facebook. We can look for marketing channels that are a little bit unconventional. Some people in the area like Hard Rock and Calypso. I mean, if you did a deal with Calypso, you know, that would really change your business, right?
Absolutely. That's a very large market.
It is. It is. And you know, most people think marketing is like pushing on a rope. Pushing on a rope is really not the best way to do marketing, in my opinion. Um, it still counts. I mean, you're a good-looking person, you're tall, you're well-spoken, you really know your stuff. I mean, I've read all your stuff. I mean, you know a lot. So, a personal a visit by you to Calypso and to Hard Rock Casino, Hotel and Casino, and anybody else you think that could help you and you could help them. I think that's the way to go. An email introduction and then a visit, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Okay, so this is what we have so far. And I know there was one more thing on the demand side. What are the other things on the supply side? Your staff have to be there. You're going to give some merchandise. You got sponsors. Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to do over here. Uh, I better make sure it's in orange. Um, and you probably already are on this, I'm sure. Uh, cider. Cider is RE or ER? Cider, like that, right? ER? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cider distributors, right?
Yes, yeah, that's a big one that I forgot. Which can be bars, pubs, grocery stores, anything.
Okay, so I got to put it in here. Bars, shoot, pubs,
Or
grocery store.
grocery and convenience stores now, farmers markets.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's actually something I'd wanted to get into it this year, and I just wasn't able to. But the farmers markets, and the idea might be so I've got to have a few products to sell to hopefully make it worthwhile in that respect. And then if you're at the farmers market, you're not just selling products, but you're also promoting events, selling the season passes, all that
Oh,
sort of stuff.
beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so we've got that now. That's the one I was sort of searching for in my mind. Okay, now let's go back to the supply side. Who else are suppliers for your business?
Um, oh, I mean, various companies for mechanical equipment, for food, for construction equipment.
Okay, hang on a second. You're
Uh,
going too fast for me. I'm slow.
sorry,
Mechanical, yeah, equipment. That's good. Okay, who else? Whoops.
you've got food suppliers,
Yep. Okay,
You've got construction equipment or equipment and supplies, um, rental equipment,
good.
utilities, and
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a good one.
what am I like fuel and oil and stuff. Uh, I mean, and each one of these categories has multiple suppliers,
I know that. All right.
but yeah,
Oh, this is really good.
um,
Okay. Anything else? So, what I want you to do,
probably.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I said there's probably, and just off. That's
So, what I want you to do, Trevor, this is a little bit of homework for you if you don't mind writing it down, is I'd like you to go
Mhm.
through your accounts payable, okay? And and list, I mean, you already have it, everybody that you've paid money to in the last this year, right? Okay, everybody, because believe it or not, okay, up here in your magic marketing button is uh uh AP stands for accounts payable, right?
Mhm.
Your accounts payable are sponsors
Yeah.
and marketing channels for you. I don't know if you understand that, but I'm sure you do. Um,
Yeah.
so the reason that let's say I'm an electrician and I get called out to your place 4 times a year, right? And I'm charging you every time I show up, I'm charging you $500 or $1,000. I don't know. So I'm an electrician. Last year you paid me $4,000. What I taught the Sens to do is when people call up and say, "Hey, I'm an HVAC guy, and I'd like to help out, at at the Canadian Tire Center." First question they I've trained them to, on the supply side to ask, "Are you a season ticket holder? Do you have a sign here? Have you got a suite here? Right? Have you got some club seats here?" And if they say, "Well, no," right?
Yeah.
So let's say you have an electrician. You'd say, "Look, Um, one of the things that you could do, I'm not saying you should do it, is you could, and I'm going to just, I don't want to mess it up, but um, I'm just putting stuff down here so you understand. Uh, could give, shoot, could give suppliers season passes at half price. They can resell. Do you understand?
Hmm.
At full price. And also ask them to sponsor, an event or as a sign, Firestone Electrical, right?
Hmm.
Um, so they become a marketing channel for you, and you become a marketing channel for them, and they can actually make money if you say, "Hey, listen, I'll give you, I think I saw on your on your website, a family pass for I think five is like $220. I'll give it to you. I'm not saying you would do a half price, but I'll give it to you for 110.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
reach out. You can give it to your clients at $110. I don't care. You can give it to them for free. It's up to you. Or you could charge them $220 and make some money at it. You decide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I attempted a similar program years ago with hockey teams,
ah,
minor hockey teams, to try and help them raise money, and it didn't. I didn't really get people biting on it,
okay.
and
Well, we're gonna. I'm glad you brought that up.
that's different.
No, it's not. Minor hockey
Same
team.
idea.
It's the same idea. And minor hockey teams and charities. Okay, so it's exactly the same idea. You're all over it. I mean, I know because, I know that just from going back and forth on email, how smart you are, which is both an advantage and a disadvantage, right? because between you and me, we probably come up with 3 or 4 good ideas a month. But we don't have an infinite amount of energy and time. Well, you probably have an infinite amount of energy, but you don't have an infinite amount of time. I have neither an infinite amount of energy or time, but I always come up with lots of good ideas. So you have to be judicious in your time. So we're just putting down things here. I'm not saying you do them all, but I'm just trying to say, look, we do understand what our magic marketing button is. I served on Jeff Hunt's marketing committee. He asked me to when he bought the Ottawa 67s back in the day. That was in the 90s. And minor hockey teams and charities became a huge distributor of his tickets. You know, the 67s now are getting about 3,500 people a game. That's because
Yeah.
it's now being run by a corporation that doesn't know what they're doing. Uh, don't repeat that. I don't want to insult
I,
any.
I've heard that from a lot of people, especially lately with the Lansdowne 2.0 going on.
Oh my God. I mean, listen, here's the Lansdowne 1 and Lansdowne 2. Okay, here's the deal. Okay, you ready? Okay, Trevor, I got a great idea. My name is Roger Greenberg. I work for Minto. Or my name's John Ruddy. I work for Trinity. I just got to sit down for a minute. Um, and here's the deal. You're the city of Ottawa, okay? You get all the costs, I get all the revenues. We good?
Sounds great.
Sounds great. That's what Ottawa did. In Lansdowne, they had all the costs.
Yeah.
Toad and John Ruddy at Trinity and the other guys I got all the revenues. And now on 2.0, and you know as well as I do that accountants are very creative, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I could show, $10 million a year loss, which is just paper, right? And the city, I mean, they're not the swiftest folks, and it's not their money anyway, right? If I were to propose a deal like this, Trevor, you get all the costs, I get all the revenues. You kind of go, wait a second, Firestone. I don't really, I don't think that's going to work. But with
Yeah.
the city, yeah. So, but anyway, when Jeff Hunt was running the team, he regularly sold out 8 or 9 thousand tickets, which was close to a sellout. And the minor hockey teams and charities were a huge, huge marketing channel for him. And this is exactly what he did. He would give them, so if my kids, my boys played hockey, uh, we'd get, 100 tickets from the 67s at half price, and we'd resell them through, mom and dad, grandpa and grandma, aunts, uncles, whatever, and we'd sell them at full price. So we'd buy them for $5, resell them for 10, so we'd make $5. So we get $500 so we could go to a tournament. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So that's part of your program. So that absolutely does work. It just means there's only one Trevor, and there's a lot on this diagram already, right? So you're going to have to pick and choose, but that does work. That is a fantastic marketing channel. Okay, they
Absolutely.
tens of thousands of tickets every season through minor hockey teams and charities.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember the 67s of how they were when I was a kid, and going there with the hockey team and going there with dad. And yeah.
And I said to Jeff after I served on his marketing committee, I said, Jeff, we need you on the Senators marketing committee. I said, I want you to come and work with us. And he said, really? I said, yeah. I mean, Jeff is a marketing genius. He is. And, he really knew what he was doing. Okay. So we've got a sense of what this business model looks like now. The one thing that we haven't touched on, and this is really important for us to work on, is okay, and we'll do it in a different color. How are we going to, what color am I going to use for this? I have no idea. How about, I don't know, whatever color this is. How do we go to committed monthly recurring revenues, right? So how do we lower stress?
No,
How do
I'm
we,
still with you. Just trying to get a bit of light here.
yeah, how do we get less stress on Trevor and less work and more money? Committed monthly recurring revenues, the holy grail. running an event is a huge amount of time. Running a wedding, huge amount of time, right? How do can you see up in the top left of my diagram,
Yeah,
CMF?
yeah.
So how do we do that?
So when you're talking CMRR, are we talking season passes? Because the season pass, or are we talking more passive
That's
stuff, the real
no.
estate business here?
I think season passes. If you know, you know, at the what we used to call the Palladium, and is now Canadian Tire Center. When you rent when we do a sign, okay, when we sell a sign, uh, it's minimum. It's about min. No, I didn't. Minimum 2 years, right? When we sell a suite, we try for a minimum of 5 years. Okay, you understand that?
Yeah,
And that is committed monthly recurring revenues because, if a sponsor says, I don't know, P3 Energy, we supply propane, and they put up a sign somewhere, discreet. Not, I know you don't want it to look junky. I get that. Um, you want a minimum of a 2 year commitment. And the reason for that is if you had 100 signs and they were all 1 year commitments, you have 100 sales to do every year. If you have 2 year
yeah,
commitments, you only have 50 to do a year. And if you have 5 year commitments, you only have to do 20 a year, right? So you try and get a minimum of 2 years. If they're not going to do 2 years, I wouldn't even consider it, right?
yeah.
So I like that. So I don't know if it's possible, to sell season passes for 2 years. I don't know. Is that possible?
I'd never considered selling multi-year season passes. One thing that we had talked about right now, we do season passes. We've had season passes since our first year
Yeah.
for the winter skating trails. And they go up and down. The last year was decent. The two previous years not so much. And this year, like I was mentioning to you, sales are way up so
Way
far
up.
with our preseason and our Black Friday.
Yeah.
Um, they're way up. I haven't looked fully at the numbers. The revenue is way up. I haven't fully done a deep dive into it. How much of that revenue was buying day passes, typically for Christmas gifts, or versus season passes, which can be for Christmas gifts or not.
Right on.
But I haven't gone through those numbers yet. But one thing we had been considered. So, for example, the dog races, we usually do two or three of those a year. So I make it kind of a series, and you could offer, and the other stuff that we do here. We had talked about the potential of offering a year-round season pass. So it's
No, great. Yeah,
not just for the winter time.
I love it. But again, I'm going to put 2 years. Okay. I mean, I'm telling you, if you could do everything for 2 years or longer, if possible, it will just make your life so much easier because you'll have committed revenues. Committed monthly revenues can be committed over a period of years. It could be
Yeah,
payable in May and payable in May. It's not monthly, but it's committed annual revenues. It doesn't matter. It's just committed. So when you look at your books, you'll know, hey, listen, like for season tickets, when we sell a season ticket for 5 years and you buy two season tickets, it's 10,000. We've got a $50,000 commitment over 5 years, right?
yeah.
And that gives the Senators and other hockey teams and football teams and baseball teams a lot of comfort, right? That you can do that. Okay, so I love that. All right, so what else have we got there?
Well, I mean, along the lines of what you're just saying for for the season passes, is it could be turned into a monthly subscription
Ooh,
program, and
yeah, yeah,
we take your two, it's a maybe it's a 2 year commitment or whatever, but we take whatever, let's say we're going to charge you $240 a year, we charge you $20 a month. And then people, personally, I hate monthly payments and I avoid them like the plague.
yeah, me
But
too.
obviously, running a business, I have a lot of them, and that's part of why, I won't even pay for TV or anything extra, that sort of stuff. That's just how I operate to control, and I've always been like that, even before I ever had a business. But from a business standpoint, as you pointed out with Apple, and this is all businesses are going to subscription models. Because it makes sense. I mean, I was reading there's car companies now that have subscription models for the electric cars. They detune your car unless you pay them a monthly fee
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
and stuff like this.
I'm never buying a car like that. But you're right.
Agreed.
Microsoft now has almost 700 million Microsoft 365 subscribers at, an average of about $20 a month.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, me too. That's like
They
$14 billion a month.
they
I
they
wouldn't
just
mind. How about you? I wouldn't mind having $14 billion a month in
Yeah,
revenue.
they just jacked up the prices about 25%.
Yeah, I know.
And there's nothing I can do because you can't really buy it realistically on the shelf anymore, and there's no viable alternative.
I agree. All right. So, I put down, as you can see on the screen here, garden plots. I think that was your idea. I think that's a great idea. I love it. Um, but with the garden plot, you talked about a school, which I think is very important. A school of rural arts. Okay,
Yeah,
of rural and
rural skills.
yeah.
Well, rural and ag. Yeah, sorry, that was what we call it. But yeah, it is. It's exactly of agriculture and that.
No, I
Just
read it. I read it. So the school
yeah,
of, and again, I think that's an incredibly important part of what you're going to be doing, and that should be something that will provide you with regular, there's a lot of demand for that, but we're going to come back to that. There's something else that I know you haven't been keen on, and so I've been thinking about how do we adjust it. My wife and I have very much enjoyed visiting Portugal. And they have beautiful beaches in Portugal. Beautiful. I mean, the summer in Portugal, the fall, the spring is beautiful. And the wintertime is cool. Nothing like Ottawa. It's going to be minus 24 next week, right? Um,
oh yeah,
yeah,
we're
which is
flooding.
pretty good. And I like the winter, by the way. But anyway, coming back to something that I was about to tell you. In Portugal, you could go to a beach and you bring your towel, you put your towel down, you lie on it, and that's fine. It's free. But there are also providers that will give you, really nice deck chairs with, comfortable, cushioning on it and a nice shade tent. And they'll have a, they'll have like, I guess, table service. They'll bring you a drink. My wife will have a glass of wine. I'll have, a juice or something like that. But, and you pay for that, right? So when we
Yeah,
go to and there's lots of people come, they just put their towels down and they go for a swim, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But one of the things I was thinking of that when I was thinking about this conversation we're going to have today. And again, this is just an idea. What would people pay to have, literally a tiny cabin, just a day cabin, that they can rent, so that if I'm going to River Oak to skate, or next summer I'm going there for a summer camp or something like that, or I'm going there for an event, what would people pay to have a small cabin, where they could put their stuff, they could change. I don't know. It's like having a day bed at on a Portuguese beach, but it would be something like that. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, Trevor.
no, that absolutely makes sense. Um, and I have no issue with stuff like that. And even I know one thing that when you were going back and forth with your AI, Peter,
Yeah,
um, especially the one that said, it was very much anti overnight stays.
Yes.
And it's not so much the overnight stay. I don't have an issue, and we actually have two cabins on the property,
Okay.
and there are plans of yurts in the future. My
Oh,
thing that
can I stop you there?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Do not do not do yurts. Do not. They are dark and moldy and shitty. Okay, I know this for a fact because I've got people who've done it. I'm sure you know Bunkie Life, right?
It seems familiar, but not particularly.
Well, we're going to go there right now. Hang on a second. But please, I'm sorry I interrupt you. I apologize, but no
No,
yurts,
I
okay?
appreciate that.
I mean it.
Pardon?
It'll be a disaster. If people will rent them once. They'll get in there. They're full of mold because they're cloth, right? They get damp and they get wet. They get moldy, and people will be leaving in the middle of the night. Or
Yeah. Now that there are some neat ones that I've seen that are basically like a dome greenhouse.
I
Um,
know,
so
I
they're
know.
they're very bright. I don't. Yeah. And anyway, it's something I wouldn't say it's not in the plans. It's something that's been discussed. But that's good to have that feedback. Anyway, to just the point of what I was getting at
Yeah,
is I'm not against those sorts of things. We actually opened up one summer here for camping.
yeah.
This
Oh
was years
wow.
and years ago. We decided it was the premise behind it was backcountry camping within the city. Um,
Wow.
so uh, um, um, basically you would have more of a remote campsite. And we had a few campers that summer, and they loved it to the point they were bugging us to come back the next year. We decided not to do it because it does take a certain amount of effort in that, and something that's in the back of our minds. But anyway, the thing that I'm more like what you guys what Chris is doing at Melody Place with the people living on site and stuff like that, that's kind of I'm not fully sold on that. I understand it and I like the idea, but I am, as much as I do this stuff, I'm still a bit of a private guy, and
I
I
know that.
like to be able to go out on the property when I know I'm the only one here, and when I run through all this stuff and stress myself out, I like to be able to unwind. And everybody thinks I'm an extrovert, but I really need my alone time. So that's behind it. So that being said, I'm not against renting out the cabins. I'm not against having campgrounds, stuff like this. And yeah, so I've seen you pulled up some bunkies here. So is
Yeah,
this the
this
kind of thing that you're against?
no, I really love this kind of thing. You know, the Park Bridge model I was going to talk to you about is a very interesting model. Um, and let's just look see. Let's see what else we got here. Here's another one. This is quite nice. So if you look at these, I don't know if I can make it any bigger. I probably can't.
I can see them. I
Yeah,
can I can have a look at them later too.
yeah. But I'm not saying you have to buy these, but you know the Park Bridge model. I coach Park Bridge, and they started about 25 years ago. And they bought old campsites from grandma and grandpa. And grandma and grandpa had built a campsite. You know, they had some roads, they had some water, they had some sewer or septic, they had some electricity, but they never really made any money. Okay. And their children and their grandchildren saw how hard grandma and grandpa worked to run their damn campsite, and they didn't want it. So grandma and grandpa
Yeah.
would sell these campgrounds for very, very little money to Parkbridge. And then what Parkbridge would do is it would get rid of all the campsites, and they would upgrade the facilities, and they would sell to an end user. They would sell you a modular home, a single wide or a double wide, and you had to buy it from Parkbridge. And they would try and make $20,000 or 30 or $40,000 on every modular home that they sold you. And that would pay for all the infrastructure that they would put in place. And then they would charge you a land rent, right? And so
Hmm.
it was almost an infinite return. I'm not kidding. And I'll just show you Park Bridge here. Park Bridge. Lifestyle communities. There we go. Yeah, let's go and see Park Ridge lifestyle communities. So, these are all modular homes, but they have, yeah, look at that. They're at 13,000. I said over 100. So they have 55 communities, 13,000 homes, 25 plus years of experience. Um, and I wonder if I could show you some of the other ones. Let me just see if I can find some pictures. Hang on a second. Images. So you can see here that's probably a better picture here. Um, shoot. So I don't know if you can see this picture here, but that's a
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
thing. So and for you, these can be year-round communities. For you, no, they would, these are really three seasons. You don't heat them. I mean, you don't insulate them. They're very, very, very basic. Not these modular homes. These are actually true homes, right? But
Hmm.
let's go back to the other screen. That's enough of that. It is one of the most profitable business models I've ever seen. And if we go back to your business model here, I put in day cabin rentals, bunkie life, maybe some camping and campsites. The other thing I put in here is workshops. And I wanted to show you what one of my clients is doing. And she has done some really incredible things. Um, and this is something that the log farm does, but they do it, I think I showed you what they do. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Uh, but what she does is she actually produces these workshops. They're very small. They're only about 161.5 square feet each. And she rents them to people who are doing massage therapy, physiotherapy, artisans, what have you, art studios, people who are selling, apple cider, I suppose. And what's interesting about this is these people, this is big time committed monthly recurring revenues because these are heated with the reverse cycle heat pumps, and they pay, for each one of these workshops, 600 or 700 bucks a month.
Hmm.
If you had 40 of them, you can add it up. That's probably 25 or $30,000 of revenue for you a month.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
also, it's obviously a vendor market. And they're really pretty too, and that's important.
Abs
So, um,
absolutely.
so they
Oh,
can
that's
be.
wonderful.
I mean, yeah, they can be. These are produced actually in Smith Falls, believe it or not. I think, so it could be somebody who does carpentry, somebody who has some kind of retail shop, somebody who's doing coaching or realtor work. Somebody's doing massage therapy, physiotherapy, pet grooming, artisan studio. And you probably know about uh, this St. Jacobs. Are you familiar with St. Jacobs?
I'm not. No.
Jacobs is about an hour from Toronto, and I knew nothing about St. Jacobs. But one time, my wife and I were in Stratford. We were going to the festival there, and both my wife and I are up early. I'm up usually around 4:30, and she's up around 6:30 or 7. And so we got up early, and we went for a drive, and we came over this horizon or this road, and there were just two lane roads that intersected, and this was now maybe 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, I think, or maybe a Saturday, and there were like 3,000 cars parked in the middle of nowhere, just at an intersection of two rural roads, right?
Yeah.
That's St. Jacobs Market. And I just think that this kind of thing this fits in, I think, with your model, right? That
Yep.
that these are people who would be working there and showing their art and showing their artistry and providing services and, like I said, selling apple cider or something else. Um, And if you looked at what they do in the log farm, they have 40 vendors there. That is big time committed monthly recurring revenues. And
Hmm.
guy who does, I wonder if I have that up because I wanted to show you that too. I might have that as well. There's Park Bridge, Village Market Square. I showed you that. Where is it? Maybe it's here. Yeah, the log farm. I don't know if I have any. Wanted to show. That's show you that later. Shoot, where is the log farm? Well, it says that is the log farm, but I don't see it. No, I think it's over here. Yeah, I sent you this. That's one of my granddaughters. Isn't she cute?
That's adorable.
Yeah, she's her name's Grace, and she is so much fun. But I mean, I have six beautiful grandsons and granddaughters, and don't tell anyone, but Grace is my favorite. She's like just the most fantastic little kid. Um,
Yeah, it's hard, and sometimes you pick them, and sometimes they pick you. I've
oh,
got
well, Grace and I are pals, but I love all my
yeah,
grandchildren, all my children equally. But there's something about this little kid that she just is really special. But anyway,
yeah,
so I don't know if you can see in this picture here, you know, they have
the
like
stalls.
they have 40 vendors there. So you don't necessarily have to go to and do what Elvie is doing with her market, her village marketplace. I mean, she's at this level, right? I mean, you can work at it. These are just simply tents that people pitch. And the owner, I don't know if I have a picture of the owner in here, not really, but I got to know the owner, really nice guy. He gets a base rent from them, but he also gets a percentage rent, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
All right, so if they sell like there was one, I bought some craft beer for my this is one of my son-in-laws here. That's Grace's dad, Patrick. Patrick Kerr is a wonderful young man, and he and his wife, my oldest daughter Rachel, have a baby boy now who's 4 weeks old.
Oh, geez, you're a grandfather yet again.
Just yeah, another little boy, beautiful little boy to go with his lovely sister. So anyway, yeah, so he gets a certain land rent from them. They lease space from them. They provide wonderful food and great products. And I like to support local, you know, produce, fruits, vegetables, what have you. So I think this even if it's just something that looks like that is perfectly fine. That's a phase one, and you can work your way up.
Absolutely.
And it's another part of that. Um, then I did show you, what was it now? Where is it? Come on, Firestone. Yeah, I actually had a picture of the Park Bridge model. There they are. Well, that's a little better
Yeah.
picture. All right. But I did have something else in here that I wanted to show you. I don't remember now. Whatever.
Now, one thing with these is going to be permits and zoning type of stuff.
Well,
Um,
as you know, the city of Ottawa has agritainment in its official plan. It's hard to find,
mhm.
but I have it on my computer. Trust me on that. So,
Yeah,
I've been coaching Saunders Farm for a very long time.
yeah.
Ann Saunders and Bill Saunders, I've known them for a long time. And they had a struggling pick your own strawberry, uh, farm, not very big, 40 acres. And they came to see me and they said they were not doing very well. And I said, well, do you know anything about agritainment or agritourism? And they said, no. So I sent them down to visit friends of mine in Philadelphia, sorry, in Pennsylvania, who were
Hmm.
big into agritainment. And they came back and they set up, the scary Halloween thing. That was the first thing they did. And they hired local students and, they put on costumes and they did their Halloween thing. And they had the first year they had 13,000 people show up and give them $11 each. That saved them.
Absolutely.
So agritainment is a permitted use under the Ottawa official plan. And so, I mean, how else would Saunders Farm on agricultural land have basically a restaurant for 350 people so they could do big weddings?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's I mean that's those see the agritainment. I mean, this is when I first opened up RiverOak. I went to the township office or city office now in Metcalfe, and I said, well, I want to open up this business, and what permits do I need? And I told them, I said, well, it's agricultural land, it's agritourism, and it's part of the tourism stuff. And they said, well, you don't need any permits at all, and there's no fees. I said, okay, that's good to know. That's interesting. You talk about them with having the restaurant and hosting the wedding. My understanding, so we make cider here, and part of the reason, like I said, is we've got the apple trees and we wanted to make use of it. COVID hit, stuff like that. You can still sell drinks off of property even if you can't bring people out. And I know I read in the news some of the challenges that I actually reached out to Councillor DeRuse at the time when during the summer of COVID when Saunders was getting fines for having 100 people on their property, which was a bit of a farce considering it was 100 people regardless of whether or not you own an eighth of an acre or 80 acres. But that besides it, I just told the councillor, I said, look, if this happens in the winter, I'm done. I can't just have 100 people here at a time. I need to have more on the weekends. So thankfully those restrictions were lifted. But one thing that, to the best of my knowledge, I'm restricted on with the zoning here is the sales of alcohol. So I'm licensed to sell the cider because I'm not a bar or a pub or a restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm a manufacturer of cider. But I
Yeah.
would like nothing more than to be able to sell people a beer or
100%.
or 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 whiskey or stuff like that.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
understanding is I don't have the zoning capability for that. Now you probably have a much better understanding of that than I do, and I know there's been a lot of changes over the last number of years.
Yeah. So, when it comes to alcohol permitting, you are permitted, you are allowed to pull a day permit. You're aware of that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now Saunders Farm for each wedding they pull a day permit, and it's just filing the forms, right? They have to do the forms. And I think they can do it online now. So
Yeah.
it is a bit of a pain in the ass. Excuse my language, a bit of pain in the butt. But you can serve alcohol for sure. But you need
So
to day permit.
yeah, and see that's so I have to do that for every wedding, for every
Every
concert.
wedding,
Uh,
every time. Yep. Now,
a pri I hosted a 50th birthday party for someone this fall where they brought 100 people out. All of these sorts of things. But basically, there's a couple of that's the easy way to do it. Trying to rezone would be a very
no,
complicated and expensive way.
no, no, we're not doing any of that. You remember how I said no yurts, no rezoning, none.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah.
spend $300,000 of your hard-earned money. You'll spend 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 years doing it. When Bill and Ann Saunders got into trouble with the agri-tainment thing, they got stopped. They got all kinds of fines, etc. And they came to me, and I said, "Don't worry about it." They said, "What do you mean?" Oh, I said, "Don't pay the fines." And what we did, this is now why agritourism is in the Ottawa official plan. So I went to see the mayor at the time. I don't remember if it was Jackie Holtzman. It might have been Jimmy Durrell. I was close with both of them. And I said, you've got to change the official plan. I mean, farms need help. I mean, I have my best friend ran a farm. He's now in his 90s, but ran a farm for many, many years, never made more than $36,000 and brought up 9 kids on his farm. And I said, those are the people that we should be helping. Two civil servants who work for the government of Canada make $150,000 each and live, sort of in a fancy home in Ottawa. They don't need any help. But Bill and Ann Saunders, they need help, and there are many other farms that need help. Are you familiar with Jabulani Winery?
No.
Okay, well, they're another group that I've coached, and same thing there. They,
Yeah.
they're a winery, but they have, and I'll show you them in a minute. The reason I wanted to show you this is Saunders Farm, obviously, but the one of the biggest contributions I made to Saunders Farm is I said, Bill, you know how to grow stuff. Why don't you grow hedge mazes? So this has
Yeah.
been a huge part of what they do. And I will take credit for suggesting to Bill and Ann, and of course they water these things, they fertilize the hell out of them, and they're huge now. That is a really wonderful thing to improve your summer attendance. It's you know how to grow stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now I'll show
And
you.
it's
Sorry, go ahead.
it's funny you mentioned the mazes. That's something I've seen the ones at Saunders. I haven't been there, but I've seen those pictures, and they look very nice. And that's something that we've talked about here is different styles of mazes. Um, there's also called something. The only one I know of is in New Zealand. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Living Chapel.
No.
If you were to Google that, you could see exactly what.
So
Um,
anyway, I will in a moment. So this is
yeah,
Jabulani
yeah.
Winery. They're near Stittsville. And
Okay.
they grow their own grapes there. But look at the facility.
Yeah,
All right. So does that look like it's agricultural land? And they do have this outdoor space. They have an indoor space. I've coached these guys for quite a while, and I mean, look at this. So if you have instead of a winery, you have a cidery, right? Do you
yeah,
understand?
yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I mean, I mean, this is what it looks like. It's beautiful. I have lots
Yeah,
of pictures on my computer somewhere, of
yeah,
the inside. But look at this inside. This is what it looks like for a wedding.
yeah. That's a beautiful spot.
And it's a beautiful
So,
spot, and they make their own wine. You make your own cider.
yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
fantastic.
and well, we actually have started to make wine as well,
Oh
just to
wow.
offer as an option because it falls under the same license. We don't have our own grapes yet, but that's
Yeah.
something that'll be coming in the future. Possibly get into beer. At the very least, I will be starting to grow hops, as there's a limited amount of suppliers in the Ottawa area, is my understanding.
Oh, very much so. All right. Okay. So, what was I going to Google?
Living Chapel is something I was going to show you.
Living Chapel. Okay.
Just when you're on the kind of a mix between the mazes and the wedding venue.
Where is it based
Uh,
out of?
I think it's based out of New Zealand. You'd have to look at the yeah. If you check out the images, yeah, Tree Church might be.
Wow.
But basically, yeah, if you look at in the top left there, and this, so they basically built a frame
Beautiful.
and grown. So it's a very unique.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And I had that idea about 10 years ago, and it's and every year I say, got to plant, got to plant, got to plant, because it takes time. But I mean, I have some natural species around here of vines that would take that over in a matter of a couple of years,
Yeah, I'm
and
sure
then you
that's true.
plant other things that'll be nicer over the long period of time, and it's a pretty low investment and very unique space.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I just love it.
Now, I also, right before in 2017, before starting RiverOak, it was kind of when I decided I was in the construction industry and kind of just got disheartened about the way it was doing. I was a
Yeah.
project manager and I did
Yeah.
quality control, and I was working for domicile developments. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I've known John Dorn since he was a kid.
Oh, there, yeah, yeah. So, while John Dorn, by the time I worked there, was more out of it than he was in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know one of his other partners, Rick Morris?
Yeah.
So Rick, I've known since I was a kid. He's owned multiple cottages on my lake, and growing up as a young teen, him and my dad were drinking buddies. Um, Rick would be the exception to that rule of combining alcoholism and business because he certainly likes to drink.
I hear you.
Maybe not
I
as
know.
much now as he used to, but he's a hell of a businessman as well. That being said, domicile doesn't really exist anymore
No.
because of what they did with it. And it wasn't those two guys in particular, but it was who they had decided to have running the business. And I was there to witness the downfall of it firsthand. I was originally hired by Rick, and to quote him and the VP of construction, because they wanted to be able to sleep at night. They wanted things done right. They wanted the quality control taken care of, which was great for a couple of years. I was there for 6 years, and more my handcuffs got tighter and tighter, and we built faster and cheaper, which was the exact opposite of what Rick wanted. But Rick kind of, I think, mentally had checked out of it, and he now runs a construction company with his son Scott, and is very happy doing it. When he's involved, he makes sure things are done perfectly, but he had other people running things that did not. Um, anyway, I decided that I didn't want to do the construction stuff anymore. So I started writing. I was at the point I almost sold the property because I said, I'm making a six-figure salary doing this stuff, um, but I hate what I'm doing just to be able to afford this beautiful property that I've got. So I've got one of two choices: either I just sell and do something I want to do, or I do something with the property, and that's where River Oak was born from. And so I started writing notes on my phone of different ideas that I could do. And finally I said, okay, I've taken enough notes. So I took them and typed them up into the computer at 134 different ideas, Bruce. Like there's
Wow.
no shortage of ideas, and they kept flowing from there. At the time, I was very big into the market gardens and doing that stuff myself. I'm good friends with George Wright, if you know him. A lot of people do in the
Yeah.
area. And I know a few other people in the line of work. George is back to construction now. Since COVID, he got out of the farming. It's very tough to get into the market garden business. It's a very tough business, and so basically, kind of got talked out of it. So it's something that's in the background that I want to bring back into River Oak, but wasn't the primary. Once if we've got thousands of people coming in per year, you already have your clients coming here. Just sell them an extra product.
Exactly.
But anyway, the two things that came up that I decided to start River Oak with was the skating trail because it's something that I love. It's something that's unique.
Yeah.
It's something that didn't exist in Ottawa at the time. Now it does with other places. And the secondary part of River Oak that was planned to come up was a wedding venue. So in the summer of 2017, we took down the log building that is now our lodge. If you've looked at our website, you've seen the
I have.
pictures of that. We also took down an old barn that's what would have been built around the 1870s, a post and beam barn. It's about four times the size of what we've got there. I think it's close to 5,000 square feet.
Wow.
And the plan was always to resurrect it on the property. We started to go through that process in 2019, and I ran into some hiccups with the city, and I ran into some hiccups with you really need for an old building, you need the right engineer. And I did not have the right engineer, and the guy was not open to different ideas and didn't understand how these old buildings worked. And I'm sitting here arguing like, look, this thing's been standing for 150 years. This type of system works. And I used to tear down, move, and rebuild barns with George Wright. He was my first one of my first employers. I was his first employee ever.
Wow.
Um, back, yeah, I consider him a mentor, and I don't think it's possible to have more respect for a human being than that guy. And he's quite a beast to work with too. So he really sets the bars as far as working hard. But anyway, this was 2019. Went to put up that building. It didn't happen. So I said, okay, we'll relook at that next year. Well, next year was 2020 and COVID. And at that point, is it worth putting up a building for the? So I still have all the posts and beams for that sitting there, and would love nothing more than to have them to have it go up one day, but that's obviously not a small investment. And as I've gone through the COVID and a bit of a recession and some troubled times um, with the weather, it's they and this is one thing that we can talk about at some point is the finances. Is where to do these capital investments is where you find stuff. Yeah,
So
I'm
we're
just
going
going
to
to move
do.
here. I've got to plug in my laptop. It's telling me
Oh, it's going to. We're going to
but
lose power. Yeah. So
yeah,
Trevor, we're going to do at least one coaching session, 100% focused on financing.
perfect.
All right. I just wanted to show you. I don't know if you've ever been to the Bill Mason Center. But part of the school that you're going to create, in my opinion, is going to have something like this. This is actually in Canada, North Dunrobin. It's right next to 162 acres that I own, and I use this all the time. It's free to use because it's a public park, and you don't have to book it or anything. You just show up, and I will actually do outdoor classes. I have some people that I coach. I have some groups that are 15 or 20 people. The largest group I coach is about 70 people, and we don't have long summers here. We have about 113 days of summer. During the summer, I'll actually go to the Bill Mason Outdoor Center. I'll bring people here. We've got blackboards, we've got tables, we bring chairs, we bring food. You can sort of see what I'm talking about here.
Yeah,
And you walk through
that's beautiful.
we walk through these paths, and I do some coaching, teaching, and mentoring there, and it's an experience like no other. All right, so that's one thing that I think River Oak probably will want to look at doing as well as part of the school that you've been talking about. There's
Hmm.
a few other things I wanted to show you just before I let you go for the day. I mean, we just scratched the surface today, but there's a few other
Yeah,
things if I can find it. Um, uh, that I can leave for later. Just seeing there were a couple other things I thought I should show you today, but maybe I've missed out on it. I think this one would be worthwhile showing in terms of making some money from your land where you don't have to actually do the work. This is a property that I own, and you can sort of see in behind here. There's a beautiful pond here.
yeah,
And this is a group of indigenous people that I coach, and they rent this site from me. They do all the work here. Okay. And this is the elder here. He's in his 80s. And on this particular day, they were building something called a sweat lodge. You know what that is, right?
yeah.
All right. And this gentleman, I won't mention his name, but he's quite famous. So I won't mention his name, and that's not fair. I'll just call him Bill. That's not his real name. So Bill came out with some young people, which you can see here. I took these pictures and I helped a little bit to build a sweat lodge on this property. And Bill told me that according to about 30,000 years of ancient lore, he is not allowed to charge for the knowledge of sweat lodge training. So, and they run this year round, so summer and winter. So I don't go to the sweat lodge when it's minus 20, but people do, right?
Yeah.
Just not me. I go in the summertime. I'm a big chicken. So I'll just show you a few other pictures here. And we're putting this together from natural materials. You can see it sort of going together here, and it's pretty basic. It's not Hollywood. It's very basic, but so I said to Bill. I said, Bill, you're not allowed to charge for the training, and he had fallen on hard times, right? And he and his young acolyte, this gentleman here, Paul, who's been a friend of mine for a long time, they had fallen on hard times. Paul had his marriage had broken up like yours. He went through some difficult times, and Bill, who is a relatively famous individual, had also fallen on hard times. So I said, well, geez, I'll rent you the land, but you're not going to be able to make any money and you can't pay any land rent. So I thought about it for a while and I said, okay, but could you, eight is a very important number to these indigenous folks. Could you put eight glamping sites around this pond and you could charge for that? So that, white folks who want to come and learn about sweat lodge and Indian lore and drumming and stuff like that, which they teach for free, but you could charge for the glamping sites. So, well, yeah, we could do
Yeah.
that. So they charge like $225 a night for their glamping sites, which are also very basic, um, and all around this beautiful pond. And and they go year round. Obviously, the occupancy rate is much higher in the summer than in the winter, but
Yeah.
they get a fair amount of turnout in the wintertime. Um, and it's just a wonderful thing. And like I said, I go visit them every summer, and they pay me a land rent and they pay me a percentage rent from the glamping sites. So I don't get anything
Right.
from the teaching, obviously, because they don't charge anything for the teaching. But that's something that's just committed monthly revenues. And between Paul and Bill, for themselves now, they make about $220,000 a year after paying all their expenses, including their land rent and their percentage rent.
Which is quite reasonable.
Well, they're buddies, right? Paul and Bill, they live together. They're not that it matters, but they're not gay. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
they're just buddies,
Roommates. Yeah.
They're well, they're pals, right? I mean, they're very close, and Paul is the a disciple basically of the older gentleman, and he's learning all the lore from Bill, and he will carry on after Bill goes to see St. Peter.
Yeah.
So the reason I show you that is that's how you turn an event. I mean, for you to teach sweat lodge training, you don't have the background to do that. At least I don't think
Yeah.
so. And you don't, you just there's no way. So I don't get that much out of it, but I get about out of out of it. I probably get about $2,000 a month from this pond, which is literally just in the middle of nowhere and was just sitting there. And I'm quite happy. And it pays the property taxes and a little bit more. And I actually give the revenues to my youngest daughter because she needs a little bit of help.
Yeah, well, I really like the idea of where I can tell how your brain works on these things to a certain degree anyway, and it's sort of the monthly revenues, and it's something that when I mentioned when we were talking about signage before, and I mentioned not wanting to have I don't want the sides of the trails covered with signage or you're sitting around the bonfire and it's all that. It's nice to have that, but like I make 275 a month right now. I just got the one company that has a bit of a billboard in the parking lot, and there's a lot of space to add a lot more in there. When you talk about partnership with Calypso or with the Hard Rock,
Right on.
um, many other local businesses. I'm not against stuff like that. I'm not against, you can name a trail after a certain place, the same way that you named, I remember when you first built the building for the Senators, and it was going to be called the Palladium, and I almost cried when it got called the Corral Center. Um, but when you hear about the 20 some or $30 million deal, you understand.
Yeah. So,
So,
so, so, I mean, listen, I'm here to listen, but I'm also here to mentor, coach, and teach.
mhm.
And I've listened and I've read a lot of the stuff from you, and I think the priority is to lower the stress level and free up some of your time. So, I mean, you're still going to work hard. There's no getting away from it, but we're going to turn some of the events and some of the stuff that you do, like for example, let's say you built this cider business into a $2 or $3 million a year business. Okay, say you did
Mhm.
that. Then at some point you could sell that and rent them the land. So you've turned it in from an operating business into real estate, right?
Yep.
They rent the orchard, they rent the facilities, they rent they own the distribution, all that. They pay you a big amount for the cider business. I'm not saying you should do that, but you could. And then
Yeah,
you just collect land rent. And so the hardest thing you have to do is once a month you go to the bank. And even these days you don't have to do that, right? You can
yeah, yeah.
electronic
and
deposits,
and
right?
that's and that's the reality. I mean, I'd like to think I've got a few years left in me. I'm in my I'll be 44 in a couple of
Oh, you're
weeks.
young.
And yeah, so but I have noticed, this will be my ninth season doing the skating trail, and even in the past 9 years, at minus 25 outside overnight, pulling 24-hour shifts and these sort of things,
I
they
get it.
take their toll, and
But
every year gets a
but
little harder.
but hang on a second, and it applies to the skating business too. There's nothing that says that you can't turn this, the skating trails once you have, we get a little bit further down the road. You could sell that business, but you obviously keep the land, and people just rent your land from you, and you get a percentage, you get a base rent and a percentage revenue, and somebody else is out there at 3 a.m., with Zamboniing or watering these trails, right? You understand?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that
Well,
is a very
I've
real
got
thing.
a Yeah, absolutely. I've got a younger gentleman, Kyle, who's been with me for 5 years now. He's in his late 20s.
Perfect.
He's phenomenal. He's a hard worker. I've been he takes care of all of the hiring, all of the scheduling, and everything
Wow.
for the winter maintenance of the ice. I fill in where need be, and he only lives about a kilometer away from here. But if
Beautiful.
something happens in the middle of the night, I'm a matter of a couple hundred meters away, so I still keep an eye on things. I still have more
Okay.
experience.
So we're going into overtime here. So let me just finish a
Sorry,
couple
yeah,
more things, and then because we've got you and I are going to get along famously, and we're going to make a big difference to River Oak. I just showed you these pictures here. I love ponds. I can't count the number of ponds that I've done, but I wanted to show you, these are just some of the ponds that I've done. And these are my two boys fishing, and that's our sailboat there. And I built things like, rope drops and things like that for the kids. And I built some beautiful homes around these ponds. But I wanted to show you this in the lower left here. That's a barn that I took down. I was about to be destroyed on March Road in Canada by a developer. He's going to take it down. I said, "Hey, I'll come with my team. I'll take it down, number and letter it." And I took it up to my property in Canada North, Dunrobin. I put it back up with a beautiful concrete base in it. It's got a nice bathroom in it. It's got like three-piece bathroom in there. It's got a little kitchen in it. It's got a washer and dryer in it. And it is now 8 workshops. So that barn is 8 different workshops, and I've got guys in there that make handmade guitars, guys who make kitchen cabinets. I've got a woman who makes handmade soaps in there. I mean, it's a fantastic thing. So that barn was free. I mean, I had to put it up, obviously, and I put a slab in it, but it produces, believe it or not, about almost $11,000 a month in rent.
jeez.
Yeah, it's about 4,000 square feet. And I
So
did the engineering. I'm a civil engineer. I did the engineering myself.
okay,
And
yeah.
oh, I
So
have a building.
that's sounds like a similar structure of what I had
Yeah,
planned here.
yeah. So I mean, if you turned it into an event center, that's fine, but that's work. If you turn it into
Yeah,
8 workshops, you just rent them out. And trust me on that, there's no limit to the demand for these small workshops. The
yeah.
smallest workshop in there, I think, is 200 square feet, and I think the biggest one is probably about 2,000 square feet. So they go from 200 square feet to 2,000 square feet. And I mean, if I had 40 of them, they'd all be rented. I only have 8. Okay.
Okay, that's
Uh,
interesting.
I'm going to go back to the business model for one last time, and then we're going to call it. So there is something else. I'm just going to put it up here in your magic marketing button that maybe it's dumb, and maybe you've already thought of it. But I coach 2 ladies, one in Markham and the other in North Vancouver, who run private dog parks. Okay,
Mhm.
and what she does, this is a hugely successful thing for her. She does dating IRL. Do you know what IRL stands for?
In real life.
Exactly. So what she does is, because it's dogs, is uh, you bring yourself and your dog singles night or singles day. I don't know. Probably singles night and singles day. I don't know. Singles night. Okay. And it's been a huge success. And so what she does, both of the ladies, the one and the girl, she's not a girl, a woman in Markham did it first. Um, she does 20 to 35. She doesn't invite the teenagers. You have to be 20 to 35, and then you got the 36 to 50s, and then you got the 50s and ups. And so it's not necessarily just, for sex. I mean, it's just a lot of people. How the hell do you find friends, right?
Yeah.
And so they just call it meetup, right? The meetup days, meetup nights, right?
Yeah.
And it is a huge success. And there's lots of organizations in Ontario and in British Columbia, all over the world now, where they promote dating in real life. In other words, meet people in real life as opposed to swipe right or swipe left, right?
Yeah.
And so you have skating trails. I'm not saying you should do it, but if you said, and you have dog races, right? And so you could have, hey, bring your dog, and it's just for singles, and you do have to do you can't have, you don't want 50 or 60-year-old men trying to date 20-year-old women. So that's kind of a
Yeah.
bad one. But she does. Both the ladies are 20 to 35s, 36 to 50s, and 50s and up. It's been a huge success.
That's a very interesting yeah. We talk about that because people love the Valentine's Day stuff when
Oh,
like it hits in the middle of our winter.
yeah,
Um
100%. I love
and
that.
yeah, like we've done like a pizza night and stuff like that. We serve things up. Um and and also like it works well because you do like a skate eat and treat package deal
Oh,
and
that's
stuff like
fantastic.
that.
Yeah.
We get them for Valentine's in particular. We get them to email us in advance their song requests
Oh my
so that
God,
they
isn't
can
that
be
great?
they
But
they're
I'm telling you
skating around and seeing it or
that
hearing it rather.
I mean, if my wife runs off and finds a younger man, how the hell would I ever meet a girl? I have no idea. Nobody's going to swipe right on me. Um, I'm too old, but I could skate, and that'd be lovely for the 50 and ups. I'd show up, and and again, it's just to have a friend. I mean, if you could have a girl who's a friend, a woman who's a friend, it's a very nice thing. Even without everything else. I mean, yeah, everything else is nice too. Don't get me wrong, but. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, so there are things that you can do with what you have. And over time, and when I say over time, between now and 2 or 3 years from now, some of these businesses that you're running will actually, I think, break through. It might be the cidery, it might be some of the other things that you do. And then you will have an opportunity to sell those businesses if you want and turn them into committed monthly revenues. So you turn it from an operating business into monthly revenues. It's like having that barn that I showed you, which produces $10,000 or $11,000 a month in revenues. And the amount of work that I do on that is pretty much zero. I mean, as you
Mhm.
know, industrial or workshop users that they call you maybe once a year to say hello.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's not like office space. Office space, those guys are prima donnas. They're always after you for stuff. The industrial guys, if something goes wrong with their workshop, they fix it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
So
different mentality.
yeah. So anyway, I want you to think about this. I am going to send you a copy of this business model. I'm sure we can work on that. I need you between now and the next time. When are we meeting next? Did we set that up?
I think I'd have to look back. I believe you suggested the 16th.
I think so. I'm going
If I
to just,
remember right, it was the second and the
I
16th. I
think you're
can
right.
check.
I'm checking it now too.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
16th. I
yeah,
think at 3 o'clock again. Yeah.
yeah, it's at 3 o'clock. So I need you to do some more thinking about the business model. We didn't get obviously through your agenda, but we got through a lot. There is one thing that you could do for me, though. If you don't mind, you could call your credit card company. I think the problem with your credit card wasn't your credit card, and it certainly wasn't Square. I think your credit card company, though, does not allow people who use Square to add it to Square. So you would actually have to call them and say, listen, it's just so that I don't have to bug you for e-transfers. I have every one of my coaching clients on credit card processing. My bookkeeper does that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Now I realized there was one thing that I'd missed from you about that wanted me to sign that electronic form, and that's been done now.
Yeah, and that's been done. No, that's not a problem. That wasn't the issue, though. I think if you don't mind, you just call your credit card company when you have time. It's not urgent, and just say, look, I would like my credit card to be able to be added to Square.
Yeah,
And because that has happened once or twice before, because otherwise it's just a pain in the neck for my bookkeeper.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I know. I push towards those sort of things. That's my most frustrating thing with dealing with schools is they
Oh,
always want to give you a check,
yeah, good for
and
yeah.
uh,
And
and
it
I
takes like
often
6 months to get a check.
yeah I often get paid a month or two after the event when everything's supposed to be paid up in advance. So yeah, I can understand from that standpoint.
Okay, I really have enjoyed this. I hope you have too. Um,
Definitely.
so after this call is over, this very long session went kind of overtime. It's going to download to my computer. I will put it on YouTube. It'll be unlisted. You'll get the URL. I'll have the URL. Nobody else will have it other than the two of us. Okay?
Perfect.
And I'm going to send you that business model. I want you to study that and think about the agenda for next time. We'll go through it and we'll make a lot of progress.
Excellent. All
All
right.
right. See
Thanks
ya.
a lot, Bruce.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
You too.